Dale, we're going to keep that bit in. I love keeping these things in. We just had a really weird technical issue where we're like straight into the beginning of the podcast and no one hit the record button. So,
That wasn't pre-planned as well, by the way, Ricardo.
yeah, it's literally because I always look at the time and I was like, what's happening with the time? So, Dale, do you want to?
Here we go.
Dale, do it. Hit it again. Hit it again. Let's go again.
Let's do it. So, welcome to the Value UX podcast. So, this is a new podcast format. I'm Dale, by the way, and this is Naresh Shan. Maybe you guys know us from the UX on Minds podcast and the Design Ops Align podcast, but this is a new format and a new podcast. And it's here to introduce your listeners to speakers that are coming up at a new conference that we're trying to put together with the aim of just sharing value that you can get within UX. And we'll be introducing different speakers via this podcast. And our first guest is Ricardo. And as you mentioned before, you're our first guest and you're having to cope with our technical issues. So first of all, thanks for being our first guest and dealing with these technical issues.
No, thank you so much for having me here. I mean, we all work agile, so we need to live it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for having me here, Dale and Nash. And it's so cool to see like these, two great hosts and two great shows coming together. And I'm very excited also, not only for this, but also for the conference.
Us too. And thank you for the compliments, considering what you just experienced.
Yeah. Just as mentioned. Dale, do you want to hit it? Do you want to take it from top?
Absolutely. So yeah, Ricardo, would you be able to just introduce our listeners to, just a bit more about you, who you are? Maybe some of our listeners do know who you are from obviously the Design Ops Align podcast, but you did give us a small insight into maybe a few things that have changed since then. So yeah, excited to hear what those changes are as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, things change very agile again. And the last three years, I was focused on helping people figuring out what's next in their careers, mostly for tech people already senior, maybe, considering like what's next for me. And I worked with people that were just, trying to understand what the possibilities were, and people that were trying to really make a change in their careers, often pivoting. And I focus a lot on career storytelling as well, which is something that is really close to my heart. But I've noticed that during this work, especially if you are late 30s and over and you're working in tech, you come to the realization that maybe this is not for me anymore, or there is no company that really can fulfill what I'm looking for. So a lot of the clients that I've worked with decided, you know what, I'm going to build my own solo business. And because I was helping companies in the past doing that, through business strategy, business modeling, product creation, I have my background in branding, and I was just said, why am I not doing this and bringing all my knowledge together and now helping people to, transition to build their solo business? So that's why right now I'm just focusing on that. I stopped with the career part. I mean, I still have a product called Parallel Plan, if you are still considering if this is your route or not. But on the other side, I'm just focusing on helping people building their solo business and transition to that.
Ricardo, you mentioned that a lot of people are moving into kind of, starting up their own businesses, doing form of freelance. Do you think there's going to be a massive wave in the market due to all these layoffs, that there's going to be so many of these kind of consultancies or freelance pockets that building your brand is the only way you're going to stand out from the rest of the bunch?
Well, that's a great question. I think there's two questions there, like where the industry is going and how to put yourself out there. On the industry, what I'm seeing is the following. On one hand, on the human and personal side, people are really fed up. People lost trust with companies. I mean, I've been working with people who have been laid off 3 times in the last 2 years. So there is a lot of disillusionment with that, and people want their freedom, people want their flexibility, and so they figure out that's the only way they can get that and do the work that matters to them is to build their own business. So there's one side, so there is that drive. On another side, there is the drive that companies are coming to the realization that it's very expensive to having long-term people. So And we all know you have this person that does this excellent job at that thing. But as the company grow, you need that person to be someone else, or to have better skills, or to be more experienced, because now it's in a growth phase or is in whatever phase the company is at. And that person is not optimal anymore. But you are stuck with that because, it's an employee. So I think what's going to happen, and we already see signs of that, is that companies will hire specific people to solve specific problems very well in specific times of their existence, and then move on to the next person.
It's one of the key things I've experienced myself, especially with this starting design Upsaline. And yes, we've lost Dale for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, I was trying to. Okay,
we've lost Dale. We'll try and get him back in a second. But I think it's one of the biggest issues of people taking that forward step. And you've been on my podcast. We've spoken about this in depth about moving into freelancing, moving into consulting. One of the biggest issues or the biggest fears, let's put it like that, is that people that move into that field, the first thing they think about is, how am I going to get clients?
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the biggest things, I think anybody who you have your own business is one of the biggest things. What would you say to people that will be coming to this conference to get over that hurdle of having no clients or customer base?
Fair point. I think there are two main things. First of all, you really need to have something to offer. You need to solve a problem we're solving. You need to understand the value that you bring, and you need to talk to the right people. And it's incredible how many people skip this step and they just go straight to, I need to do sales. I need to get clients. Like, yes, but you are inviting them to an empty shop. It's unclear what you're selling. It's unclear to what kind of problems are you solving and what is the value that you bring. If you don't have that, you can pay $5,000 a month for a sales expert and you're not going to get clients. So first of all is figuring that out. The second part is sales can be a touchy topic, and there's many different ways to do sales, and I'm not married to anything. But if you want to start right away, start with your network. Start with the people that have worked with you. They are the best people to recommend you to somebody that, you might be able to solve their problem. And they're already vouching for you. They trust you. They're making a good recommendation. Start talking about that on social media. You don't need to be an influencer. Just start talking about, hey, I'm a freelancer. I offer these services now for these kind of people. Slowly, you get this. Then I think if you want to scale the business at a certain point, yes, you need to get a little bit more operationalized and getting more hands-on with more advanced sales techniques and strategies.
Yeah.
But at the start, go with the people around you. They are the best starting point, your own network.
Ricardo, I'm going to take a stab at this. Obviously, with the setup that we've got now with this conference that's coming up, and the whole thing is based around the audience really getting value from coming to see you. And it's a question we're going to ask all speakers. I really want to get your take. Like, what would you say to the audience? What is the key values they're going to get from coming to your talk, come to your webinar, and what would you say they're going to get out of it?
They will get out that solopreneurship is not what they think it is. There is as much as strategic work to be done. Sure, you need to figure out as is emotional work to be done. And if you don't look at that part, your business will fail. And how to deal with that. And they will also understand that it's not that complex to put a business out there and to really, start. But you need to start with the right foundation. And there is 4 elements of that right foundation for you to be successful. And third is to really change your mindset of what means to be a solopreneur, which is very different from being a freelancer. But that's a hot topic that often creates a lot of discussion.
Dale.
Yes, I'm back. Sorry if sorry if I jumped at another technical difficulty.
We love it.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I think I think it sets the mood of what our conference is going to be like. We're going to have a few technical issues in the beginning,
But it's authentic.
but I think it's part of the learning curve. Yeah, it's authentic. It's part of the learning, and it's part. I don't think it ties in really well, Ricardo, with the subject that we're talking about. You know, when you start a business, it's not linear. You're going to make so many mistakes, and I want to get your take on this. Like, how do you get people to get past that aspect that you're not going to get it right? You're going to keep tuning, and you're going to make so many more failures than you would than actually doing a career path. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. And that's a tricky one because, again, that's the emotional blockers, right?
Okay.
That's an emotional blocker. I don't want to, because when you are an employee, you can put the blame in someone else. You can also put the blame on yourself, but there is a lot of things that are not under your control, right? How your boss decides to do things, the company strategy, whatnot. When you are your own, this goes to your core. If you fail, you feel like a human, right? So, for example, I tell you a story. I was working with somebody that was charging, barely covering the costs of delivering that service. You can imagine that's not a very sustainable business model.
No, not at all.
But what was blocking that person to do that was his fears, his imposter syndrome, his questions of self-worth, his questions of comparison. Oh, but maybe I'm not as good as somebody out there that delivers the same service. And yeah, but this is affecting your baseline. If you don't face these fears, if you don't overcome them, it directly affects even your bank account. So what we did, for example, like, okay, for this workshop that you're going to host, you're going to double your prices because that's the minimum you need to do at least a bit of a profit. And was very uncomfortable. And, but they went for it. And we said, we do an experiment. It might be that you're going to go back to your old prices, but at least give it a chance. And they did. And then they experienced that, well, clients didn't complain. I sold all the seats, and I even got more clients after that. And now I have a better pricing. And this is not about pricing. It's literally about allowing yourself to face your fears and to experiment into, hey, actually this can work. It's hard to get people there, but once you do the first or the second try, you just start to change. You know what? It's going to be like that every day, and you just get more comfortable with it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I don't know if you've covered this point because obviously I missed some of the conversation here. But just on the small point I heard there, if you are just a naturally emotional person, like you just live life in an emotional way, so most decisions in your life, you I don't know, you wear your heart on your sleeve. Do you have some techniques, or how could somebody, let's say, navigate those, let's say in this early stage of, you have this idea, you're very passionate about it, but along with that passion, you have this emotional side, and every decision you make is, you live it emotionally. Do you have some techniques that someone can use to maybe navigate those feelings that they do have, if it's just a part of their personality?
Well, you are describing me because I'm a very emotional person,
Me
Dale.
too, so.
So I can tell you how I dealt with it. I think at the beginning was really tough because at the beginning it feels that goes into your soul. It feels that it's really about your self-worth and your self-value. So you need to do an exercise of constantly detaching of, there is me, the business person, there is me, the human, and they kind of overlap, but I also have to say that the business person needs to make decisions and needs to negotiate with the emotional side. And so for example, this morning, I'm going to tell you, this morning, I'm doing a new website. I paid for the copy, so I have an excellent copywriter doing that, but I'm still building up my own thing on Squarespace. I'm not an SEO specialist. And, when we were reviewing the copy, we were having discussions about SEO and adding ones, and I felt ultimately a failure. Man, there's so much things to figure out, and I cannot throw more money at the problem, and I feel like a failure. And it's just like, I ended up the meeting, storm out of the bedroom. It's like, what am I doing? And then I realized, man, I have so many things to decide. I cannot be perfect. I cannot make the perfect decision into everything. No company does. Why should I?
Yeah.
So is this constant reflection and this constant negotiation that you have with yourself. Of course, I also have a coach which helps me to negotiate those things and to kind of help me to deconstruct this. And this is how I also help other people while they are building a business to deconstruct these emotional blockers, which it takes different shapes and forms. But at the end of the day is facilitating these discussions between these different parts of yourself.
Mm-hmm. It's a hard one. It is a hard one. And you mentioned something just from your example there, where you have paid for somebody to do something for you. A lot of people are very reluctant to start a business because they don't know what kind of costs are going to be incurred just to get set up. Is that something that you also help with in really refining them to not spend money recklessly and to be a bit more strategic in their spending, in their investments?
Definitely. But I think in my experience, the opposite happens.
Okay.
Which is people are not willing to spend. They are, and I did that mistake myself, right? You have your savings, you are starting your business, you don't want to get into your savings, so you don't invest in yourself. But I think that's a mistake because if you don't invest in yourself or in your business, two things are happening. One, you are telling your business is not worth investing. So good luck in going out and asking for people to pay for you when you in the first place don't put money in your own business. It's already something that doesn't sit well with me. And I did that, by the way. I'm not saying that I did that mistake. And the second part is that when you don't invest in your business, you also do a lot more stuff on your own that doesn't add value to your business, is going to stress you out, and you're going to do a half-ass job. Pay the people to do the work for you. So in my perspective, I think we should always invest. Now, the problem is out there, in the internet, everybody's screaming at you. You need to make a 6-figure salary. You just need this sales system, or you just need this content strategy system. And first of all, I don't think you need those things, especially at the beginning. Maybe later you need to invest in stuff like that, but at the beginning, definitely not. And if you don't reply to the questions, who are you helping? What problems do you solve? How do you solve them? And what value do you bring? You can put any system in place and nobody's going to still buy from you. So my point is invest in the right things at the right time, but it takes some effort to figure out where to put the money. And that's why I created the packages I created, because I bring the basics that you need for all the side of your business, your product, your value, your offering, your pricing, everything, which is your starter pack. So you don't need to go and hire 7 different people to do that for you. And at a very price-conscious price. High, but is price-conscious. After that, you need to be more strategic on where you invest your money. I wasted a lot of money as well after trying to save a lot.
Same. I'll give my 2 cents. I think the best investment I had on the business was in a gym membership and a swimming pool membership. Because, and I'll give you my 2 cents on that. As you just mentioned, invest in yourself. If you invest in your health, your business thrives. It really, a lot of people mistaken, you got to buy this platform, and the first thing you really need to do is invest to make sure you're healthy and that you've got a clear mind. And my swimming and my gym membership was the best investment in my whole business, if I have to think out loud. So.
Yeah. How was it for you, Dave?
Yeah, well, I've not really invested in any of my own businesses yet. Maybe that's to come. But in terms of investing in myself,
that's coming. That's coming.
No, but I absolutely agree. In terms of investing in yourself, I think that should always be your starting point in any venture that you have in your life. And I guess so from listening to this conversation here, also in your business side of your life as well. And I think everything's always connected to your mental health as well. Anyway, I think if you don't take care of that and you don't invest time, energy, and resources into making sure that mentally you're in a secure and safe place, if you don't do that, you're not going to be putting your right foot forward in other areas of your life, whether it's your relationships or your business in what we're discussing now. So absolutely, I 100% agree in that. And actually, I just had a question with regards to how, I don't know if this is something that you want to divulge now or maybe in the eventual talk that you give at the conference, but how do you know when, this is something that personally I struggle with as well, how do you know when to decide, okay, this is an area of, I don't know, I'm setting up a business or my own agency or whatever that might be, that I can take care of this part of the business. I have the skill set, so I feel confident enough to deal with this side of the business, but I need to, I don't know, invest here and get someone in with the expertise to look after that side of the business. How do you know, or do you have a strategy to define, okay, yes, I trust myself here, but I don't trust myself here? Is there a clean cut and to decide when to do that or when not to do that? If that makes sense. I don't know if the question makes sense, but
No, it totally makes sense. I think people get there in different ways. I got there because of the pain of doing things myself and then realizing that, okay, this is the kind of help I need, and really sitting down and understand strategically what pushes the needle forward that I cannot do myself and what would be the best investment. But when I work with clients, for example, I think everybody has their own skills. So, for example, there are people that are very much inclined to sales. So they don't need so much investment there. They need investment maybe in, marketing and branding, or vice versa. Some people have like completely allergy to sales and yeah, they need help there. So they do the marketing and branding. So that depends. That is one thing that I always recommend to put money on, and people try to save money in the most ridiculous things. But I'm paranoid with legal stuff, so I just throw money at tax advisors and anything that is legal. But you would be surprised by the amount of people who try to save on that. It's just like, look, if the tax office knocks on your door, it's as easy as you don't have a business and you probably enter in debt. And I'm not trying to be fearful. I have so many people around me with these kind of stories. So if there is one thing you should definitely invest, get a good tax advisor, get a good software to do that. For the rest, I think naturally you're going to figure it out, right? For example, for me, at a certain point, I cannot deal with the content myself. I don't have the enough capacity or knowledge. Found the content strategies. I try to do the copy by myself. It's just like, this is really bad. Hire somebody to do the copy for you. Yeah. And I think once you see these returns of investments once and twice, and how much they last, you start to gain more confidence about making investments. But you also need to be diligent. I might interview 10 different providers or freelancers or solopreneurs until I get to the right one. And to be fair, it's often the best ones for me. It's always often by recommendation.
Yeah. Absolutely. But you hit the nail on the head with that, Ricardo. Because you mentioned just before, like, okay, you had to look at your website, like, this is too much for me. Or like, it was a lot of stress you just mentioned. But don't you always find that's the exciting bit, of starting a business? Especially, I'm quoting from Design of Line. I'm just telling you from my experience. I think the whole experience of, working things out yourself, knowing when to delegate, knowing what your strengths are, knowing where you're going, it's all part of that learning process of doing a business. And I find it very, very exciting. I mean, I wake up with no Monday morning feeling, Yeah. So what's your take on that, what I just said?
I love it but I think there is one thing implied in that. You are already implying that you are enjoying what you're doing as a business owner and figure things out. And a lot of people go, I just want to do this thing. I don't do only coaching and strategy and consulting and whatnot. I do the back office. I do the operations. I do the taxes. I do the branding. It's a lot of decisions to make. This 50% of my work is not client work, is running the business. But you need to like this.
Yeah.
To have this excitement that you and I have regarding this. But I think if you don't have that excitement, that can be very overwhelming, because suddenly like, oh, wait a second, but now I'm the whole team. Yes, you are the whole team.
Yeah, no, agreed. No, and I'll be honest with you, I was very, very lucky with Design Ops Aligned because I had business partners. They were focusing on one side of the business. I was focusing on the other side, branding, podcasts, etc., etc. So it's, as you mentioned, it is a lot to take on when it is just yourself. What would you say? What would you say to people who have to do this to paint the real picture of starting a business?
Yeah, I think that's the difference between a freelancer and a solopreneur. A freelancer comes and says, I need a project. I want to be the best designer I can be for this type of company. Great. But if you really want to start your own business and solopreneur, you need to think about, how do I scale my incomes? What are the products and services I need to create? How do I put myself out there in a sustainable way? How can I have recurring revenue? You need to make a lot of operational decisions. So you need to understand if you are ready. I mean, being ready for that is different because we are at different levels of readiness. You just like, do you want to do this? Because there are people that realize, you know what? I just want to do my specialty. I don't want to run a business. And that's fair. This is not for everyone. And this is not about taking people to that stage, because if it is not for you, it's not for you. But if you feel like you can do it, but you are a bit reluctant, okay, then we can build your confidence to get there and to, slowly make you understand what pillars do you need to think about and what your day-to-day looks like. But yeah, there might be people that is not for them.
Mm. I also had a question with regards to AI. Have you seen that as being I know it's a can of worms, but I want to open it a little bit.
I love this bit.
I just want to get your opinion on this, Ricardo. Do you see it as a hindrance to people that are wanting to start their own business, or do you see it as an opportunity or an exciting opportunity or growth for that area of the field? Because I can see both sides of the coin to this, as it being potentially even a catalyst to some people, or removing a block that maybe some people have to, okay, I can actually maybe afford let's say some AI tools, or maybe I would have had to have outsourced at a much higher cost to an agency or something. Actually, I can use this tool, and that allows me to save costs there and allows me to potentially grow a business, or vice versa. What's your opinion on that?
I mean, there is always a 50-50 chance that this can go wrong in the future. So, but I believe that is more of a benefit and is more of an opportunity, because for several reasons. First of all, you have access to so many information and agents, and that cut you so much costs and cut you so much time. It took me a long time to start getting into, working with AI. But when I got it, it's just like, oh my God, my whole day changed, because I can figure out stuff so much quicker that I don't need to read to thousands of blog posts and see videos and so on. So I think there's that, and which means that your speed of learning, your speed of awareness is much faster. But on the other hand, I think the next level is, how can you integrate this in your workflow? So on the day-to-day, how can these do tasks for me that it does workflow? And then the third step, which is a step that I'm already now, is that how is that serving already my clients? Because now this is part of my offer. My clients, they get their own agents based on the training and the work that we do together. It's still very beta, but my work continues with them even after they stop working with me. So I think that is exciting. I think, can it be a risk that, but are you going to be replaced? Sure, you might be replaced. But the thing is that I don't believe that AI can have really honest conversations with you to overcome your emotional blockers for your business. And your therapist is probably not business minded for that. I'm not saying that I do the work of a therapist, far from it. But you know what I mean? There is a certain level of humanity that you need to have in this process that I don't think AI can replace. And to be fair, if you are looking at Fiverr, for example, it's not that a Fiverr is a great platform in that regard, but you are seeing now that Fiverr is putting a lot of AI tools out there for freelancers. freelancers who are not using AI, and they will also just be extinct at a certain point. So either we adapt and we start making use of those tools and keep the humanity, or we just, get extinct. I think there is going to be a high price to pay for really human only kind of interaction. But I think for most people, it's in the middle. It's a balance between both of them.
I want to take a stab at something that you just mentioned. You think the days of building companies, because a lot of people think like in order for me to make a lot of money in a business, I have to have a very large company and etc. You have loads of people in it. And you just mentioned about agentive AI. Are we going to see a shift of very small companies with, I'm talking about 3 or 4 people and a whole bunch of agents doing a lot of work that can make millions? I'll give you my 2 cents on this one. Let's take Joe Rogan's podcast. Yeah, one of our competitors. He makes billions and he only has 4 people in his team. Are we seeing a shift now in company culture to say you don't need a squadron of 40 people doing XYZ in order to make a successful business?
It's a very loaded question.
It's very loaded. That's why I love this podcast, because you got Dale's side and you got my side. So, we kind of mix and match it.
Let me think for a second, but because I don't know what angle should I take from it. Okay, let's go for the personal angle. I think there is a lot more not personal, the individual angle. I think there is a lot more opportunity for people to build profitable businesses on a smaller scale. And we are seeing that. I see people building digital agents that have 2 people and they sell you the agent a month, 3.5K for marketing research, for design research, for this and that. I mean, that's a very viable model. I think that's super cool. But you still need the human input to a certain extent. But yes. I think it's there. There's a lot more opportunity to actually build a business that doesn't rely on so much huge infrastructure and huge investment, which is great because maybe we can get away from the VCs. We can get away from these massive investments, which gives people, individuals like us, to opportunities to actually build kick-ass businesses.
Mm-hmm.
On the company side, which means there's a lot more for solopreneurs out there. There's a lot more for people to. But again, that's not for everyone. And on the other side, we see companies that maybe are reducing their workforce because they can do a lot more with AI. Although it looks, I'm not an AI expert, or I don't claim to be, but it also looks like AI at scale is not really replacing so many workers. We see the example of Klarna. They fired up the customer support, and now it was a big thing, and now they are hiring back because AI is not as good enough. So I think we're going to be a shift there. The problem is what's happening then with the people that don't want to open their businesses. They can't find jobs because. So what's going on there? What's going to be the issue to solve there? I didn't reply to your question the best way. I went on the workers' rights.
No, I think it's a valid thing, because I think you're going to be coming to this conference speaking a lot about moving into solopreneurship, moving into freelance. And I think I just want to be realistic. I want people to come in and say, hey, this is the real situation we live in. I don't want to sugarcoat any of the things that's happening. And I'll give you my 2 cents before we wrap up. I think me and Dale have put together this conference due to the fact that there's so much shift that's happening in the industry, in our design industry, where, again, people are being laid off. People, as you just mentioned, people are being replaced by AI. People don't have money to go and pay for these massive conferences that have been there. And we're giving back to the community in this conference to say, hey, you come here, you don't pay anything, but you pay what you think is the value you're going to get out of it. And we want people to come here, be told the real picture, and to get value. And a speaker like yourself talking about the realistic thing that's going to be happening, especially if you are going to go into this solopreneurship or freelance field, the reality has to be shown to them. It's not easy. And you mentioned it's not for everyone.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest problems that we have, and we are having a hangover about this, I'm not sure how Dale sees that, but for example, we were sugarcoating everything in this industry. We were so toxic positivity, don't tell things as they actually are. And right now it's like, we need to have honest talks. It sucks, it's crazy, it's layoffs, it's unfair. Yes, you need to really think about your survival. Companies are not here for you, but it still feels that when you have this kind of messaging, people see, oh, you are a naysayer, you are a negativist and whatnot. But it's like, that's the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's something that I
you
noticed.
hit the nail on the head.
100%. Yeah, that's something I noticed when I did transition into UX. It's something that, yeah, through social media, you did see those clear differences between those that were sharing, as you mentioned it, Ricardo, let's say toxic positivity. Not everyone, but you did have that aspect of social media, especially LinkedIn. And then you had those ones that were trying to talk real, that were kind of ostracized as being overly negative, or I don't know, being called gatekeepers, things like that. And it created this, which you don't need in the industry as well. You don't need that in the community, this as and them. And because then it just creates an overall toxic negative atmosphere. But Naz mentioned it before as well. There is a lot of, obviously, a change in the industry at the moment with layoffs, but in some ways it can also be an opportunity where people can see in their life, in their position, that potentially they can start their own agency, they can move into freelance. And someone like you, Ricardo, that has that expertise and can share this experience of what they've seen working with people who've been successful in making that shift into entrepreneurship or just into setting up their own business, that being laid off or struggling to find your next job doesn't have to be the end. It doesn't mean you have to shift to another career or fall back onto something that maybe you don't really want to do. It's not what you envisioned. You can push forward and you can still be successful in your area of expertise. So yeah.
Definitely.
Excellent.
That's a really good end statement there, Dale. Ricardo, you wanna wrap it up for us? We're still putting together all the details of the conference. Again, as Dale mentioned, you're the first of the speakers that we've interviewed, and we're really looking forward to having you there. Do you want to say something to the audience to entice them to come to your webinar?
Well, first of all, I want to say to the audience that what you two are putting together, and I know the motivation that's behind it, that you really want to bring value to a community that, to be honest, is being taken profit from many events, that is inaccessible for many people, that the way you are charging and about thinking about financially from this model, it's super fair for everyone. And I really take my hats off for you in that regard, that you are trying to bring people that add value, or at least I will try from my side, and I'm sure that everyone else will. And yeah, I think this is very unique. I think this is really worth to come, and having people that are trying to give real experience organized by people who have the arts in the right place. So I really hope that you find your way to the conference. I would love to have you there, and I would love to see if some of you have the courage to then, okay, I'm going to build my own thing, and to have a good time and to have a good exchange. So thank you.
Brilliant. Drop your comments down below in the description. We'll be posting up this video very soon. So we'll be doing a massive marketing spree on this so that everyone knows. Just so that everyone knows what Ricardo's talking about. The conference is based around value. We want you to come for free. There's no charge to come in, and there'll be many, many speakers on the day. It will be a 3-day event. We've definitely locked that one then. We've
Yes.
definitely confirmed that bit. But yeah, it's a 3-day event. Again, you come for free. You come and see these speakers who are going to be speaking about very, very in-depth subjects which can resonate with you, and there's going to be many, many options of different types of categories in there. And we're not asking you for any money. You just donate what you think is the value you got out of it. And we want you to, get something out of this. And we really want you to take something out of the conference rather than all these other conferences where you pay so much for tickets. And I've spoken to many people about this. The best bit is the networking side of it. The rest of it, they don't really get that much value. But we're going to be showing you a different USP with our setup. So please stay tuned for this. And again, drop your comments down below. Me and Dale will respond to you. And we look forward to the next episode when we bring in the next speaker, Dale.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. And yeah, just to echo Naz's point, we want everyone, even if you just come for one talk or 20 talks, we want you all to come away with some value. And as Naz has mentioned before, maybe in the past you've paid for tickets and that's kind of preset the limit on the value you can get from the conference. But we don't want that. We want everyone from one talk to all the talks, all the events, to come away with something. And Ricardo is the first to set us on our way to giving some value. So thank you for coming on, Ricardo. It's been a pleasure for me as well to meet you for the first time and get to know you. And yeah.
Same here. It was really, really nice to meet you, Dale, and really nice to be here and to have a nice talk with you guys. Thank you so much. And I wish you the best of luck with this new chapter. It's an exciting one.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you at the conference, yeah?
We'll do, mate.